Welcome, everyone. Are you all feeling the love?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to start out technical tonight, but don't worry, by the end of the talk, we'll be going cosmic. So be patient with me. And also, for any of my talks, if I mention terms that you're not familiar with, you can always Google them. Just Google the term plus astrology, and you'll be able to dive deeper into that topic. So today we are at a pivotal turning point that's been going on all year, with the planet Jupiter making its final square to the planet Neptune. Any of you aware of that? We've got a few hands raised. So before I go into the nature of that particular turning point, I'd like to say a word about what in astrology are called phase relationships. Anytime you hear an aspect being formed between two planets, they have the potential of starting a new phase relationship between those two planets. So it's not just the aspect. It begins a new phase of activity for a period of time between those two planets. It's like the new moon is an aspect when the moon conjuncts the sun, apparently. But it starts a month-long cycle that's anchored by that new moon, and the nature of that cycle is described by the sign placement of that new moon unfolding over the next month. So anytime two planets combine, they set a seed for that new cycle beginning that becomes a sensitive point or a key descriptor of the nature of that cycle and its opportunity. Planets don't do anything to us, they only offer opportunities for the advancement of our souls. So when I say Jupiter is squaring Neptune, I look back to the last time Jupiter and Neptune combined or were conjunct, because that was the beginning of the cycle. The last time Jupiter and Neptune were conjunct was in October of 2009. October 2009 in the late Aquarius, 24 degrees of Aquarius. So Jupiter and Neptune are cycles of ecstatic consciousness. They give you a key of the nature of the portal, offering the development of Jupiter understanding of ecstatic consciousness. So a new way of becoming a living example of ecstatic consciousness, which is Neptune, the gateway to the heavenly worlds, manifesting here on Earth. Jupiter is associated with the highest level of human understanding. It emerges from the profound, powerful initiatic experiences of Scorpio. So once you have met the core of yourself, once you've been challenged to probe to the depth of yourself, then you emerge with a new understanding, Jupiter Sagittarius, of the nature of yourself and the world around you. That's the nature of Jupiter. Pisces itself, Neptune being in Pisces, the first time in 165 years, is the gateway to the heavenly worlds, the source itself. So Jupiter is the co-ruler of Pisces, but the pivotal point for Jupiter is when he enters his own sign, which is occurring this year. It's a 12-year cycle of him attaining a new understanding of himself and the universe around him, so that he's connected with his own personal medicine and personal path, rather than relying upon the great insight, the expanded awareness of teachers in the world, to follow a path that's been preordained by that particular teaching. So all of us have had the opportunity this year to get clear about our own personal medicine, the medicine we carry, and you understand the nature of that medicine on a uniquely personal level. So since 2009, when we talk about a transiting planet, the transiting planet is always the more swiftly moving celestial. So since Jupiter moves more quickly, it's a 12-year cycle. Neptune's a 165-year cycle. Since that conjunction, Jupiter's been moving forward past Neptune around the circle in a 12-phase unfolding process. Each sign is not separated from the other signs. They are united by an evolutionary process. One sign evolves to the next naturally. So each time Jupiter has reached a new phase relationship, 12 of those phases, each house connected to a phase, a new cycle of understanding has opened up. Now, there are two kinds of squares. If you imagine, here's Neptune and Jupiter combined in 2009. And then gradually Jupiter's been moving around away from Neptune forward. He has gone through the lower half of the circle, reaching opposition, and now has been in the last 3 years rising in relationship to Neptune to the top half of the chart. And this particular square is right at the top of this particular phase relationship, a 10th or 4th quarter square. I'm sure I've lost you by now, but there's an initial square at the bottom of the cycle, which is very personal in nature, in terms of our personal development of that ecstatic consciousness. Once it reaches opposition, that was 3 years ago, we begin to understand our relationship in developing ecstatic consciousness to the larger circle around us by meeting a mirror self with whom we then are expanded about 3 years ago. By the time it reaches the top half of the chart, Jupiter to Neptune, then we begin to understand how our medicine impacts the world around us as a medicine carrier for a greater living experience of ecstatic consciousness in the world. And that's the signature point we have arrived at today. It's been going on all year. And in the next 3 years, Jupiter will gradually move toward Neptune and then combine with Neptune again, but this time in Pisces. The co-rulers of Pisces combining in Pisces with Neptune, the highest ecstatic state of consciousness available to us, unfolding for the next 13 years. Okay. So when two celestials are in aspect to one another, they meet at the midpoint. In other words, here's Neptune, Jupiter squaring. Where they shake hands is at the midpoint. That's where the resolution occurs, because the square always offers a particular challenge to expand beyond your comfort zone. They meet in the sign of Aquarius, and around 17 degrees to 17 degrees, the midpoint would be 2 degrees exactly of Aquarius. So if you imagine these two, Neptune and Jupiter squaring one another, meeting at 2 degrees of Aquarius, if you go to the opposite point, you can see that it forms kind of a Y formation. And when these two planets are square, and you have a third celestial at the bottom of the Y formation, it's called the Hammer of Thor. And the Hammer of Thor commands you to take your power. That's what the hammer is all about. The square offers a challenge, and the challenge says, brother or sister, you can't stand on the sidelines. You've got to step forward and take your power. Now, the outcome point is Varuna in Leo. Varuna's been in Leo for a couple of years now. And Varuna is the Hindu god who carries the power of the word. The starlight within would be Leo. So it's the word of power that releases and exalts the living light, the starlight within you, that also ignites the light of others around you. Now, the opposite to the resolution point in Aquarius, Aquarius is the connectedness that we feel with those on the advancing edge. Like the New Age movement, the Internet movement, those who are standing as living examples. The Leo opposite point is saying there are those who will ignite the starlight within and stand apart from Aquarius, the group, become a living example of the word of that power, the starlight, to the group. And then as this individual person, you as an individual, ignite that starlight within you because you're connected to the soul group. When one person breaks through, the entire group breaks through. So if you've noticed, when you have a mind-blowing breakthrough on an energetic level that opens your heart wider and deeper, you notice that all the people you're connected to start feeling it, and they begin to break through as well. So with Leo being the outcome point, the hammer, where the hammer hits, it's saying, brothers and sisters, connect with the starlight within you. Have confidence in its beauty and power. Radiate. Become a living example of that light. And you'll notice that you may stand apart from the group, but then the living example you present, the group that you're connected to, your friend circle, will notice that something has shifted in you, and they'll start feeling it as well, and you'll all rise together. So have any of you been facing a particular challenge and becoming more visible? Standing apart from the group because of a particular mind-blowing insight you've had? Or rise in the power of your heart, because Leo is ruled by the heart. So it's heart power that really ignites the starlight within you. And since Varuna is going to be in Leo for the next 25 years, we have plenty of time to practice. Being the king or queen or starlight, brilliant star of our own movies, and this will build and build. So, we always have shadow elements or shadow aspects or examples of that, of needing to be the center of attention, the spotlight, the brightest star in the room, at the expense of others. So I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. So, but that is the kind of starlight that just lights up the room. Okay? And then we have Uranus in Taurus. We have Uranus in Taurus squaring the Varuna, and whenever we have a square to the outcome point of a hammer of Thor or a Yod, the square to that point activates it. So just this weekend, we've been having the global strike. What are they calling it? For
environment.
Yeah, led by Greta Thunberg. Uranus in Taurus is the breaking wave of the living consciousness of the Earth, making herself known through the collective internet-connected group, particularly of those who are on the breaking wave. Uranus always connects us with the future, and those who have the future 7 generations forward in mind, and setting a new tone on the planet, and this time in Taurus, which is becoming more completely and aware of the living nature of planet Earth, the nature spirits around us, and putting her at the center of our focus. As our relationship to her then becomes an opportunity for us to advance, because Uranus is always connected with awakening, to right relationship to the living power of Earth herself. So I've been watching this global strike, environment strike, very carefully, and I'm so encouraged that it's a 16-year-old girl and other young people who are really rallying to the call and holding the old people to account. Because we are not going to be silent. You can't get away with it any longer. We're just going to create a revolution on planet Earth that will command you to listen. Because it's their futures that they are dealing with. So that activating Varuna square is really demanding that someone, an individual, step forward in the brilliance of their starlight and in this case that would be Greta Thunberg, connected to a whole group of people around the world, the opposite point in Aquarius. So this is a living example of someone taking a stand, and you know, she's I mean, her maturity is just mind-blowing. I watched her, how she handles contests, those who would try to diminish her, and it's like, whoa, who is this person? She, you know, as a 16-year-old girl, she just stands in her power. She says, I don't care what you think about me. This is my life, this is our lives, the life of the entire planet is at stake here. I will not be silenced. Varuna and Leo. Varuna also is the power of the word itself. And in a more esoteric level is the power of the word. Because when you speak, it's not just the impact on your consciousness, it's the energy that those words carry. Those words are an expression of your state of being. So it's the quality of consciousness that you carry that empowers the word that you speak. And that has a much greater impact than actually the understanding of the mind in relationship to those words. So when you speak from the heart, you can kind of mess up the words, but the message gets across that I love you. I may not have known the right words to express it with, but it's the energy those words carry that is the more important power that influences others. So we all have the opportunity now to become more conscious of being a living word, because each one of you are a living word. You have an embodied presence that you carry in the world that really does have the impact, the primary impact. What you do with that presence is really almost icing on the cake. So, you know, since Uranus, Neptune, and Jupiter are slow-moving celestials, this has been basically going on all year. But the phase relationship change with this Jupiter-Neptune square, the final one, it doesn't just change one phase, it changes two, because it enters the fourth quarter phase, approaching Neptune in 2022. In the fourth quarter phase of any two celestials cycle is when it really carries the experience of the first three quarters out to the community itself as a giveaway, as an act of love. And particularly with Jupiter-Neptune, it's a living embodiment of high states of ecstatic consciousness and understanding its nature. Because with Neptune you can have the experience, but with Jupiter it gives you an understanding of the nature of that experience. So clear, conscious, and empowered love, with the outpoint being in Aquarius now, which the midpoint, I associate Aquarius with Atlantean consciousness. Anyone here familiar with Atlantean consciousness? Yes. Atlantean consciousness is the mind of God. It's clarity. So this suggests the opportunity here is not only to have the experience of love, but have great clarity on the nature of love itself, so that when your love is given, it's clear. I heard just recently, a Buddhist monk was asked a question about romantic love and how Buddhism relates to it. And he gave a beautiful answer. It's on my Facebook page. And he talked about Maha Karuna. Maha being great, Karuna being compassion. The Jupiter-Neptune cycle is about attaining the state of Maha Karuna, or Maha Meti, which is great kindness. There are 4 stages of that that open the heart, not just on a personal level, but on a more expanded, where you just feel your heart expanding. I've recently had the experience of this, and I'm feeling it now. Venus is right on my Neptune as we speak, in my natal chart. So I'm feeling this expanded, very vast expanded heart chakra opening. But the arena, he was speaking of the arena of romantic love. being the gateway to this higher or eternal love. And that it's purified. I've known this for quite some time, but the way he described it was just beautiful. So we're starting to go cosmic. Can you feel it? I want to say a few words about the arena or gateway or medicine space of romantic love. Venus in Libra now, with the sun about to enter Libra late Sunday night, is the special opportunity of that romantic love gateway. We call it romantic love, but it's a lot more than that. Venus is associated with the human experience of love on a personal level. Her higher octave is Neptune in Pisces, which is the greater love pouring out from the source that shines on us all equally. And it radiates out, this profound love that just expands your heart. Venus, then, at the lower octave, says, here's an opportunity to experience that greater love, the Piscean portal, on a personal level with one other human being, on an intimate level. And it's within that intimate expression of love that greater love is perfected. The more deeply intimate you are with another human being, the more deeply you feel the connection. When there's a disturbance in the force between you, the more personally it affects you. And the more personally it challenges your commitment to the love that you are. And within that challenge, your love is perfected. You following me all on this? Yeah. So how many of us have looked back on deep personal contact and said, well, that was a little messy, I could have done it a lot better. But I learned how to hone and perfect my love within the cauldron of that challenge. So for me, the front lines work is really within that arena. I'm not saying you have to fall in love with someone, but it's an opportunity for you to deepen and perfect the greater love that's pouring out from the source on a very deeply personal level. And right now, particularly when the sun enters Libra, that portal is wide open. And then Mars enters Libra the 3rd of October. And then by the second week of October into late October, we have the Scorpio influence, a portal opening, which dives deep into the tantric nature of romantic love. Any comments or questions at this point? Okay.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
technical question
Mm-hmm.
on the squaring of the celestial bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You were describing like Neptune and Jupiter, and when you were describing, you were explaining Neptune is doing the motion around the chart.
Jupiter is, yeah.
Jupiter.
Well, Neptune's also moving.
That's what my question
But because
is. They're
Jupiter
both
is the
moving,
faster
but they're
move.
staying.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's just addressing not their actual movement, with Neptune moving also, but their relationship to one another. When we're talking about an aspect, we're talking about two celestials' relationship to one another. It's like the sun and the moon. When they reach full moon, they're in oppositional relationship, but the sun's also apparently moving. And when you look at the cycle of the sun-moon, there's a full moon, and then there's first quarter, second quarter, and a new moon. But the moon is the aspecting celestial because it's the faster moving one, defining that cycle. Yeah, it was a little bit tricky to visualize, but because Neptune's still moving very slowly as well. Go ahead.
So if my sun and Venus is in Libra in the 5th house of relationship, then for me it would be a little bit more magnified.
Yeah, it's been your opportunity your whole life. It just the opportunity is just a little highlighted right now. So I'd be watching who and what shows up in your life to offer you the opportunity to share the love that you are. Okay. So having said that, if you're all clear about falling in love and the nature of love, I do want to mention also the shadow side, because the romantic love as a portal is a portal of initiation. And when you experience it as a portal of initiation, there are always those particular forces that don't particularly like you advancing who will challenge you. And this is one of the hallmarks of the hesitation we may have of entering into the depth of a relationship, because we know or sense the possibility of other forces entering that may challenge the depth of that intimacy. And if we lack the discipline of commitment to that love, we may be caught in the shadow aspect of a romantic relationship by these forces that seek to sabotage and challenge the depth of our love. Now, I've kind of busted their MO a long time ago, and I realized that when I'm entering into deep intimacy, these forces, if they don't particularly like me or who I am, will make a concerted attempt to come through the one I'm connected to get to me, because I'm pretty much, try to get at me directly, I'm immune, pretty much. I see you. But the deeper my contact is with someone else, the more they recognize an opportunity to use that person as an access point to me. And this is the shadow work or shadow side of intimacy, when other forces get involved. And once I realized I wasn't even dealing with the person I loved, I was dealing with these entities that were attempting to move through them, I busted the whole MO. And now I can really feel or sense when that's trying to happen. And I'm not even talking to the person, I'm talking to the entities behind them. But the arena of personal relationship then becomes an avenue through which your love is perfected, like I said, but also tested, to give you a personal understanding and experience of how deep that love goes into the core of your being. I mean, do you love that person, or are you in love with that person? There's a distinct difference between the two. Being in love, that initial rush, is the Spirit's way of tricking you into deep relationship with that person. But once the in love experience begins to diminish, then the real work begins, right? Then it's loving that person becomes the path. Loving yourself as well, understanding what healthy boundaries are, but also being very conscious of the attempts of these forces that don't particularly like you to intervene when one or the other person is dancing with their shadow, to push that energy and push it out of control. And particularly you men in this room, it's very important that you have the discipline, if you know if you're shadow dancing, to perfect your discipline and not harm the woman you're with. Because that's our command, that's our gateway. That's the women are the gateway keepers of romantic love. They open the door. And we as male warriors, especially in the way of Tantra, are very careful to listen for the invitation to dive deeper and not attempt to push that door open on our own. So this is a golden and beautiful opportunity, because the higher powers, the angelic forces, Neptune is connected with the angelic forces. They will stand with us as miracle makers if we feel that arena is an arena in which we are open-heartedly embracing to draw to you a person with whom you can share that medicine or that gift, that opportunity or portal. So this is a real beautiful high-level initiation sequence that's going on right now that I'm certainly feeling, and feeling very grateful for, knowing that the power of love is becoming a living experience. I mean, you can say you love someone, but when the portal really truly opens, you you're just so overwhelmed by the love that you're feeling that it becomes a living experience, and it may even be hard to find the words to express it, but you're being completely and totally transformed by the love, the depth of your heart opening. And then the discipline that follows is to maintain that open-hearted experience, and so that it becomes a living conscious path. Because whenever we're dealing with Jupiter, it's the path through which you expand your awareness. And in relationship to Neptune, the higher order love is the path in itself that expands your consciousness, and then it's grounded into this world as a living experience. Okay. You didn't expect me to go there, did you? But
Sounds good.
I'm speaking from the unfolding initiation I'm personally experiencing, so
Nice.
I would just assume that I was called here because you all are also sharing an aspect of it in your personal lives. It's a very personal opportunity. But if you recognize the nature of it, you just say, okay, I need a little more courage, because what will give you courage is knowing that you have made a commitment to have the discipline required to do no harm. The vow of ahimsa, to do no harm. And even if you don't know how to do that, you fall on your face occasionally, the commitment is there. And taking personal responsibility to perfect that love as an opportunity to expand your heart, not just your heart, but your consciousness. Because the most advanced levels of consciousness for me, on my own personal path, involve the vast opening of the heart chakra. It's really that simple for me. If that opening of my heart is not there, then it's just a distraction. And how much love can you stand? Basically, as you rise into those angelic realms, that's the big question. It's like, whoa! It's just blowing my heart open as big as the universe. I can't stand anymore. This is too much. But your capacity to contain more of the love that is pouring out from the source, particularly from the angelic realms, to me is a sign of advancement. The beings that I've encountered, the level of love they were able to contain was just much vaster than mine. I couldn't help, almost like, it's like fall down and just say thank you. But to me, that's the only true marker for me of real advancement. So with Jupiter involved, what I'm attempting to share tonight is my understanding, Jupiter, of the nature of that initiation and opportunity, and the love that is a conscious and intelligent power is the driving force of the universe. To get back down to Earth, there's the new moon coming up on next Saturday. That's at 11:26 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and it will be at 5 degrees Libra, 20 minutes. And that's the real anchor point for this portal that I've been describing, this opportunity really beginning to open. And as I mentioned earlier, a new moon always sets the tone for the following month. So even though the celestials will be moving into Scorpio mid to late October, that Libran portal will remain open until the next new moon on October 27th in Scorpio. And particularly with Mars shifting into Libra on October 3rd, Mars will remain in Libra until mid-November. Then he shifts into Scorpio. And Venus, this beautiful goddess of incarnated love and on a personal level, she, as I mentioned earlier, is in her own sign until October 8th, and then she starts to dive into the underworld. So if you are in partnership, this is a beautiful time to perfect deep trust and love on a very personal level that will give you confidence that once entering the deeper scorpionic levels of the underworld, Tantra, you're dancing with someone you can trust. Okay? So any questions or comments at this point? Go ahead.
So, correlation-wise, or how their points come together, if, like, somebody just recently was saying to me that Neptune and Mercury were part of my chart, and I'm very ignorant on this. It's
Mhm.
just is.
Mm-hmm.
So what you were speaking was really just deep truth in me.
Mhm.
So they were talking about Neptune and Mercury being ruling, and so I'm curious, is the speed of the planets, how they interact, like one is fast, or Mercury being faster and Neptune being slower.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming into this next year, being a Scorpio, November
Mhm.
9th, I'm like feeling like these energy shifts in this next year that are really strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, like, how for anyone, if you have a planet that is faster and slower, what the typical kind of dance that they're doing is. I'm just curious if it correlates.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd have to see your chart to specifically answer that,
Sure.
because sometimes a slower moving planet can be going retrograde or almost at a dead standstill, and there are rare occasions when normally a slower moving planet is actually the aspect of the planet.
I'm feeling Neptune a lot.
Yeah, and depending on where those two celestials stand in your chart, it's interesting you asked me that, because I have Mercury in Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune. So I've been, my whole life has been about channeling the voice of the higher power, the celestial gateway to the heavens, through my voice. Mercury in Pisces. So if they are in aspectual relationship or sign relationship, then they have a stronger connection. And I can't really tell you that from not seeing your chart.
I was curious if that was like a general view. I wasn't sure. So,
Yeah.
but
I'd have to
more
see
specific.
your chart specifically to answer that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Anyone else?
You mentioned earlier this was a pivotal time, moment
Mm-hmm.
in the stars.
Yeah.
Could you reiterate that just a bit?
Yeah, it's pivotal because it's the very beginning of the fourth quarter relationship of Jupiter to Neptune. And over the next 3 years, we will have shifted from personal transformation to expanding out to others. And the fourth quarter of a wheel is also always about stepping into the community, Aquarius being the midpoint, and sharing the medicine you carry. It is the consequence of the great cycles of personal initiation and transformation you've gone through as a medicine carrier. I mean, you're a medicine carrier. You know that there's been a whole cycle of initiations in your life on a very personal level that have developed that medicine within you. And so this juncture is saying, okay, you've developed the medicine in full confidence now. You can take the experience that's developed that medicine with you over the last 9 years out to the community and the world at large.
Oh,
Okay?
thank you.
And I was just saying, this beautiful Venus and Libra portal of calling in someone with whom you can dance, and then Lynette shows up. That's pretty fast manifestation there, brother.
I blame the stars.
Instant manifestation. Yeah, so once you, if in fact that is something that your heart desires, just open your heart and talk to the angels. They will hear you. They always hear us, but when you specifically asked, watch for miracles to happen, because when their presence is known in your life, miracles happen. There's no way, that's impossible. That's when I know angelic intervention is involved. So ask them, be surprised in a good way, and then allow the universe to surprise you in who shows up. Okay?
This is just a side thing. I'm a songwriter. I write a lot of songs about the angels. And when you said that, I thought, oh my God, it's entitled to a song. Did you say talk with the angels or talk to the angels? Because it just struck a chord.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that song. So talk to with.
Yeah. Make your requests known loud and clear, and give them full permission to intervene and surprise you in a good way. And just watch what happens. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
What comes up in me is always this sentence, and the child will lead us.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see now in the world is that the children are coming together,
Mm-hmm.
and they are our chance.
Yeah.
Really, they are.
Mm-hmm.
If it were grown-ups, I think there would be a lot of violence. But
Right.
it is
Mm-hmm.
the only possibility at this
Yeah.
point, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that they are not as aggressive. They
Mhm.
hold back.
Mm.
And I am so grateful, and
Mhm.
I would like to know how we can support this, everything that is happening right now, and the child is a heart.
Yeah. Well, also, it's their future they're fighting for. You know, many of us, especially at an advanced age, we've already pretty much lived our lives. For them, they've grown up in the environment where their entire future is in question. The whole thing, shebang could collapse. So they have a ruthless quality about them where they can't be intimidated. It says, I don't care if I live or die. This is my future I'm fighting for. And they mean it. You know, they're living it. And that's the fire that I see in Greta Thunberg and others. These young people, because they know they're living it every day. You know, going to school, having to do drills in case a shooter shows up. So you know, and they're speaking that from fire in their belly, and that's just awesome, because I know at that level of ruthlessness, you know, where the commitment is just total, there's no other choice. Change will happen. That's the kind of steel and plutonian fire that actually transforms the world. Yeah, and I'm just blown away by what I'm sensing and feeling and experiencing with these children who are, you know, much older than I am, showing up on the planet and just not holding back any longer. And I've been looking for this sign of the Earth being put at center for years, decades now, with my understanding of the whole Anunnaki story, as a signal for the great ship of Earth being turned in the right direction. When the signal of the planet Earth is a living being, and it needs to be the center of our attention, it becomes a worldwide phenomenon, and it's now happening. To me, it's a fulfillment of prophecy, something I've been waiting for as a sign that finally we are beginning to get the proper focus that will bring all of humanity together as an opportunity to unify. And that's happening now. And I'm watching that. It's almost a fulfillment of prophecy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you were talking about that portal of love is how I was interpreting it. And I think that childlike love of saying, I love this earth, I love you, I will love that fierceness of love is what I see it as a love that is fierce, opening. And that's why I was curious in the astro chart what you're seeing, because that's how I view it, that it's like, oh, I love this earth and I love you. And I will rise, and that childlikeness of love where it's pure and holy and wonderful, where
Yeah.
it's unstoppable.
Mhm.
And it is that one your sacred child. So I was curious what you saw in that, because that's just,
Yeah. Well, the spirit is a trickster, and most humans, or many human beings, need to fear their own annihilation before they finally say, I am taking a stand in the truth of my being, and I cannot be compromised.
yeah,
If I do, I'm going to die.
yep. And
Okay.
that's some of what they're
That's what
coming
those
from.
kids are
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
It's a trick of the spirit.
But
and
it's still truth.
yes, and it's facing annihilation. And that's very Plutonian, by the way. That's
Okay, that's
Plutonian's
the connector.
way of initiating you, of demanding that you take your power or die. That's Pluto, you know. And these children, I consider them really adults. I mean, some of them are way older than I am. In spirit, are rising to that occasion because they said we have no choice here. If we don't change, we're going to die. And that's Pluto's way of commanding that you take your power. You have no other choice but to take your power. And so it's a Plutonian initiation. And you know, Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn now. It's about our standing in our full authority and speaking our truth. Yeah. We'll get into that next time, because that's approaching in January. Anyone else? Well, I think we completed the circle for tonight. Much love.